Hey everybody, this is Bridge the Gap. I made this video to help men who are struggling to get rid of their habit of watching porn. I'm not a religious person or anything like that. I just want to help those men who have noticed some negative side effects from watching porn and are still struggling to quit once and for all. In this video, I will explain what worked for me so I could kick this habit for good. It's important to realize that watching porn is like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it. You will begin to realize that you can never get enough of that which doesn't satisfy you. Objectifying and sexualizing women is a never-ending negative process that yields a few minutes of excitement, a brief orgasm, followed by hours, days, weeks, months, and years of shame, self-doubt, self-criticism, self-judgment, and frustration. There are thousands of men out there who are part of the NOFAP movement. These men have noticed the following negative side effects that have started taking place after they began watching porn every day. They've lost the motivation in their lives to pursue their goals and dreams. They've begun to feel a lot of shame. Shame is the feeling of disconnection. In other words, they fear that if their loved ones knew or found out what they were watching, they would no longer want to be around them. They have found that porn is interfering with their day-to-day life and causing problems with their real relationships and in their work environment. Many of them are experiencing erectile dysfunction when they're with a real partner. Erectile dysfunction has traditionally been a problem for older men, but doctors are seeing more and more younger men with this problem, and the reason is because they're watching too much porn. They find that they're becoming more introverted and enjoying being alone more and more. Their sexual preferences continue to escalate to a darker and darker place. When they see attractive women in their day-to-day life, rather than appreciate the beautiful, unique person that she is, they begin to sexualize and objectify her. It doesn't have to be like this. There is a better way, and I will explain what finally worked for me with the hope that it works for you as well. So where do your compulsions to watch porn come from? But all of your bad habits, whether it's food, porn, drugs, or alcohol, all come from the same place. They're all coping strategies to make you feel better in the current moment while disregarding your future self and the person you hope to become. Many people with addictions have developed them from feelings that they are not enough. Many of these feelings developed in childhood. It can be anything from growing up poor to having a home that was weighed down by alcohol, drugs, fighting, divorce, overparenting, underparenting, changing environments, or moving around a lot. We all have a story. My story was growing up in a home that had this one and this one. But I'm not my story. You are not your story either. It's time to put our stories in the past and enjoy life in the present moment with a positive, compelling vision for your future. Your upbringing was not your fault, but as an adult, it is your responsibility to ensure that you get everything you want out of this life. It is important to remember that many men have begun watching porn to help them cope and feel better about the negative feelings in their life, such as stress, anxiety, boredom, or the overall feeling that you're not good enough, smart enough, or rich enough. But as author Brene Brown explains in her book, Daring Greatly, you cannot selectively numb your feelings. You can't just use porn or anything else to numb the bad feelings. When you use porn to numb your feelings, you numb all of your feelings. So you also numb, without realizing, joy, hope, motivation, and happiness. This is why so many men who have watched porn feel a lack of motivation in their lives. It's because they're numbing all of those positive emotions. So when the brief pleasure of orgasm is over, there's nothing left but darkness. Okay, so let's talk about how to break the cycle. It's important to understand why porn is such a hold on you. In Charles Duhigg's book, The Power of Habit, he explains that all habits have three parts: the cue, the routine, and the reward. Your brain will always remember habits that give it a lot of pleasure, and an orgasm is essentially Mother Nature's heroin. It is the best reward you can give your brain, so your brain will never forget where this reward came from. Also, the more you repeat this behavior, the stronger the habit will become and more difficult it will be to break. Further, every time you try to break a bad habit, like watching porn, you activate the addictive inner voice. You've seen this guy before. He is the one that shows up whenever you try to get rid of a bad habit, and he says, "You can't do this. We've already tried this and failed, so why bother?" Or he says, "How about we start tomorrow? Or when we finish school? Or we'll stop in the new year? Or we can stop when we get a less stressful job." He says things like, "Porn is okay. Everyone is watching porn. It's fine." And on and on. He will say anything that keeps you where you are, because it's extremely important that you realize that your mind likes things just the way they are. Your mind will say or do anything to avoid change. Your mind just does what it's been doing for years, whether it's good for it or bad for it. Your mind likes things just the way they are, even when the way it is isn't healthy for you in the long term. This voice can sometimes be hard to find because it blends in with all the other voices. The ones you hear that say, let's have pizza for lunch, or I need to go to the bathroom. But remember, the addictive voice is the one that always leads you back to your bad habit, the one that keeps you watching porn. The best way to deal with this voice is to give it a name and talk directly to it. I know it sounds crazy, but this approach to addiction has helped thousands of people. It is the approach used in great books such as Brain Over Binge and Breaking the Cycle. I put a link to those books below. In Breaking the Cycle, we are told to give this guy a name, something funny or even a bit degrading. If your voice is always into watching threesome porn, you can call him Threesome Teddy. Or if your voice always says things like let's quit tomorrow, you can call him Starts Tomorrow Timmy. Let him know that you hear this voice, but you are not acting out. Tell this voice to shut up. Tell it that you are in control, that you always have a choice. After you talk back to this voice and tell it who is in control, it will eventually get smaller and smaller till you can barely hear it at all. It is also important to remember that you're never going to break your porn habit by trying not to focus on it. Think about it. If I ask you to think about anything except a pink elephant, what happens? What is your brain going to do? Your brain is only going to be able to think about a pink elephant. But what happens when you try to white knuckle it is that every day you wake up and you say, I won't watch porn today. I won't watch porn today. Then you spend all of your time trying not to focus on porn, and eventually your willpower depletes and you cave in, relapse, and start the cycle all over again. So what you can do is realize that this guy isn't going anywhere. However, by focusing on new, positive habits, you can weaken this voice, you can shrink its size until you can barely hear it at all, and you gain control over this habit. Think about it this way. You may not have ridden a bike for years, but you still remember how. So if you still have this habit in your brain after years, your porn habit is much stronger. So it'll always be there. You'll always have this addictive voice, but you can get to the point where you manage it and it doesn't manage you. So what are the new positive habits that we'll be focusing on? In The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg talks about keystone habits. A keystone habit is a habit that has a massive impact on all areas of your life. Once these keystone habits are ingrained to daily routines, you'll begin to feel so good that you no longer need porn. The keystone habits we will be focusing on are daily meditation, exercise, sleep, and diet. I know what you're thinking. You are not going to feel like doing any of these things. I know I didn't when I was going through this process, but I forced myself to do them every single day, whether I felt like it or not. After enough time, my feelings began to change. It took me a long time to figure out, and this is extremely important, that feelings follow action. So you act first. You do these things every single day, even when you don't want to, and your feelings will change and you will see great value in them. Also remember the habit loop: cue, routine, and reward. So take exercise for example. The cue can be when you leave work. This is your cue to go to the gym and exercise. The routine is the actual exercise in itself. But what's the reward? There are many benefits to exercise: reducing stress, improving health, and feeling proud at the way you look, and many, many more. But what I've learned, and this is also really important, is that you can't have rewards that are far away, months in the future. You need to have a reward that immediately follows the exercise. For me, it's enjoying a healthy dinner right after I exercise. For meditation, I complete the 6-phase meditation, see the link below, and HEADSPACE. The cue is when I wake up. The routine is actually meditating, and the reward is giving myself one of my favorite things in the world, a hot cup of coffee. If I don't meditate, I don't allow myself to have coffee that day. I must meditate first before I'm allowed to enjoy it. Set up all of your keystone habits in this way, where you get a great reward as soon as you finish. For sleep, I focus on getting 7 to 8 hours a night. For diet, I only eat whole foods. This means no junk food, fast food, or processed food of any kind. Also, greatly reduce the amount of alcohol you're consuming down to just a few drinks per week. When you get these 4 keystone habits working together for 30 consecutive days, I promise you'll feel so much better. These habits will eventually fill the void where porn once was. You'll also begin to crave true intimacy, love, and connection with a real loving partner instead of pixels on a computer screen. Okay, so you may be thinking, all this is great, but what do I do when I feel a strong urge to watch porn come on? The first thing you must do is change your state. This means when you feel the urge, get up from your computer and do something that changes your emotions. Take a shower, exercise, chew on the leg of a table if you have to, but don't act out. Having access to a computer makes it so easy to watch porn, but you can download a software and install it on all of your devices called Canine Protection, which bans all porn sites. Also, daily meditation will teach you that your urges and thoughts are just like cars passing on a busy street. Don't have to chase them, you can let them pass. All urges will pass if you give it time. It's not easy, but you can do it. You will be uncomfortable for a while, but you can survive it. You won't die of discomfort, and eventually you will live and feel better than you ever have before. This I promise you. Here are some other key points that I've learned. Be gentle with yourself. Be kind to yourself. You are doing your best. Shame will just keep you feeling bad, and when you feel bad, you'll want to watch porn again. Next, don't ever give up. If you relapse after you get to day 5 or day 60 or day 300, you're not going back to day 1. You are starting at a much higher place. Never forget this. Next, don't wait until you feel ready to quit porn. You will never feel like doing hard things in life, but you do them anyway, whether you feel like it or not. Remember that you can change. You are not broken. If I can do it, you can do it. I've seen how good life is after you quit watching porn, and I'm never going back, and I want you to feel the same way. Also remember that after a certain number of days, whether it's 30 days, 60 days, 100 days, or 3 years of not watching porn, your brain will try to convince you that you're cured. This is a trap. This is the addictive voice returning and trying to get you to act out again. Remember, he is never going away. An alcoholic can't have a drink even after years of being sober. This is the same thing. He will always be there in the background, but he only has control if you give it to him. The addictive voice will also try to convince you that it's okay to watch soft porn on YouTube, or it's okay to check out a girl's Facebook or Instagram account. This is another trap. Last and most important is to do the beard test. I know you're asking, what the hell is the beard test? The beard test is when you take your hand and rub it against your face. You don't need to grow a beard. You can just feel the stubble on your face. Do this to remind yourself that you are a man now. You're not the scared little boy. When you feel the urge to act out, rubbing your hand against the side of your face is a gentle reminder that you no longer need to engage in behaviors that only bring you suffering. If you see an attractive girl in your day-to-day life and your mind begins to objectify or sexualize her, do the beard test. This interrupts your negative habit and reminds you that you have a true essence. You want true intimacy and love and connection to a real person. You don't want to objectify women anymore. Real, grown-up men learn not to treat women as objects. If you watch this video without taking action, your life won't change. Even as you watch this now, your addictive voice is saying this is all BS and that you don't need this. But look at the bigger picture of your life. You can't keep doing the same things over and over and expect anything to change. Finally, I'll end with this. There's a great moment of clarity when you realize that you are in full control of your life and you are no longer living in reaction to your story. One day from now, you will look back on your old porn-watching self and you will be amazed at how much energy you now have, how much ambition, creativity, motivation, and focus. You won't even be able to recognize your former self. So open your mind to the possibility that the real excitement in your life can be the beauty of connection to a loved one. Remember that no amount of porn is ever going to love you back. So if you want to lose yourself in something, try losing yourself in another person. Thanks for listening, and if you'd like to hear more videos on becoming your best self, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks again.